Good morning. This meeting of the Madera County Board of Supervisors is now called to order. And we'll begin by asking, are there any additions to the agenda?
Yes, Chairman, there's one addition to the agenda. It's a request for a letter of support for the Eastern Madera County Fire Prevention Assistant Grant application to CDF, California Department of Forestry. This request came to us on Friday after the agenda was posted, and the entity has a need to receive the letter today so that they can successfully complete their application tomorrow.
Okay, I'll hear a motion of necessity.
So moved.
Okay, motion made that we take up this item and as it rose after posting the agenda.
I'll second.
Motion and second. Let's vote. Oh, take it out for comment. Any public comment on this item? Anyone online?
No comments online.
No one here to comment, so we'll vote.
Supervisor McCauley?
Yes.
Supervisor Gonzalez?
Yes.
Supervisor Wamhaugh?
Yes.
Supervisor Poitras?
Yes.
Chairman Rogers?
Yes.
Vote passes 5-0.
Okay, County Council, you want to read the agenda into the
Yes,
closed
Chair.
session agenda?
Yes, Chair and members of the board. There are two items for your closed session today. The first is labor negotiations with your designated representatives, Roman Noriega and Joel Begay. That's under Government Code Section 54957. The employee units are all units and all classifications of unrepresented employees, excluding elected officials. The other is existing litigation matter in the Eastern District of California, the United States Bankruptcy Court. It's in the matter of Madera Community Hospital, and the case number is listed on the agenda. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any public comment on the items just read into the record? Anyone online?
No public comment.
Okay, with that, we will go to closed session.
Mondo, can you hear? Can you hear it on Zoom? Testing, testing. Okay. You testing? Testing. You have to. Testing. Testing. Okay. Yeah, we're good. That's
Meeting of the Madera County Board of Supervisors is called back into session, and County Council, we have anything to report from closed session? Oh, she's not here. Oh, there she is. You will get here in a second.
Thank you, Chair, members of the board. There are no reportable actions from your closed session.
Okay. With that, we'll open and close in memory of, and I know we have a couple of people. Go ahead, Supervisor.
Thank you very much. I would like to, first of all, remember Annette Aguirre Romero. Many people may not know Annette, but she is the mother of Chief of Staff Nick Salinas, and she passed away about 8 days ago at age 65. I'd also like to remember two individuals in this community, and I'm going to recognize them together because they shared many of the same qualities. And both passed away on Saturday. One was Steve Copeland at the age of 75, and the other was Steve Saguspi at the age of 78. And I think that many of you who know both individuals would know what I'm talking about. They were both just consummate gentlemen, people who gave to this community, who were looking to find solutions to issues and challenges. They were always there ready to help. Both of them, and Steve was in the farming and then later on in the real estate industry. And Steve, of course, was in the insurance industry. And both families, they it's interesting. There's Basque in both individuals, and the Saguspi family was kind of, I believe, north of the Pyrenees, and I believe Steve's family, the Biscays, were more mid or southern, but it was kind of an interesting tie that both families had. But my heart goes out to both families, very extensive ties in this community and just innumerable contributions. And then finally, I like to remember somebody had a remarkable life, Velma Hansen. She recently passed away at the age of 107. She grew up, I believe, in Nebraska, came here in third grade, lived out in the Dixieland area, was a 1933 graduate of Madera High School. And she lived her last 7 years at Cedar Creek. She drove up until the age of 98. And so, what a life that Vilma had. And again, lots of contributions to our community. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you for mentioning Thelma. 107 years old when she passed away. Many of her grandchildren are there in Chowchilla and children, and so I know her well. Knew her well. Knew Steve and Steve Copeland and Steve Saguspi very well. Good men, as you said. Totally agree with your eulogy of them. They're fine people. Contributed greatly to this community. We will definitely miss both of them. And my heart and prayers go out to their family as well. Anyone else?
Yeah,
Yes, go
Mr.
ahead.
Chairman, I'd like to recognize and open and close in memory of retired County Council Doug Nelson. He had an extensive career here in Madera County, was appointed county council back in 2010 and came back as a retired annuitant. Anyway, 36 plus years, very smart and reliable. Also was an Army veteran, so thank him for his service to our country, and our thoughts and prayers are with his family.
Doug was a very no-nonsense guy. We just spit it out, and he's very, very conscientious. And we thank him also for his military service, dedication to it as well. Anyone else?
Chair, if I may,
Yeah, go ahead.
like to open and close in memory of my friend Jake Langley. 31st of December.
What's the name again?
Jake Langley. Thank you.
A lot of people to remember. Wow, that was quite a list. A list of people who really meant a lot to this community and me personally. Thank you. At this time, we'll stand for the invocation and the Pledge of Allegiance. Tim Estrevera from Remnant Church will lead us in the invocation.
Just want to say good morning to everybody today. Just want to thank all of everybody here today for all their service today. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, supervisors. I just wanted to read a scripture today before we start in Deuteronomy 11:11. It reads, "For the land whether you go to possess is a land of hills and valleys, drink it water of the rain of heaven, a land which the Lord thy God careth for. The eyes of the Lord thy God are always upon it, from the beginning of the year, even unto the end of the year." I just want us to know as we end this year and we start a brand new year, I want us to know that God is with us today. And that's what we're doing today, is believing God's presence today, not only over all of our supervisors, our chairman, but over every entity that's here today. We want to thank everybody. As we bow our heads today, Heavenly Father, God, we thank you for your goodness, your grace, and Father, for your mercy, Lord. Father, first and foremost, God, we want to thank you for this beautiful day that you have made, God, and we'll always rejoice and be glad in it, God. Father, just like your word says, Father, that you are upon this old year, God, but upon this new year too, God. And Father, I pray for wisdom from heaven, God, as every single man and woman of God, every supervisor here today, every entity that's here today, God, from our fire department, our probation, God, our sheriff department, God, CAPMC, God, action committee, God, everything, God, for mental health, God, and every entity here, Lord. I pray that you would lead them, that you would guide them, that your blessing to be upon not only them, God, but their families, God, and for this beautiful county of Madera, Lord God, that you continue, God, just to bring your blessings and favor upon us, God. I pray that you would lead us, God, that you would give us wisdom from heaven, God, but also, Lord God, that we would always lead with conviction, God. We want to thank you, Father. We ask, God, right now for your favor, your blessing, and your anointing, God, not only over our supervisors and every single person in this room, God, but even for those who couldn't make it today, God. We want to thank you and we pray your blessing. Father, as we start this year, God, Father, we need you, and without you, we can do nothing. We give you all the glory, all the honor, and all the praise, God. And we thank you for all you're going to do, but also what you're going to do in our lives. And in the name of Jesus, Lord, we pray. We all say,
Thank you, Tim. Ask my colleague Jordan Wamhoff to lead us in the.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice.
Public comment.
The first 15 minutes of each regular session are set aside for members of the public to address the board on any matter under the jurisdiction of the board, but not appearing on the agenda. The board will not take any action on any items presented under public comment. Speakers are limited to 3 minutes. Anyone addressing the board is asked to print their name clearly on the speaker sheet at the podium and state their county and name, state their name and county of residence for the record.
Hi, Happy New Year, I guess. Tracy Kennedy, your Madera County Treasurer, Tax Collector. I have with me Jackie Torres, my Assistant Treasurer, Tax Collector. And we want to give you the breaking news of all of our collections for taxes ending December 10th. Regina's handing them out. Thank you, County Council. Anyway, this is a breakdown basically of the last 10 days of collections. 693 walk-in constituents probably, and that's just in the last 10 days. And we divert as many as we can that are paying for checks to one of the drop boxes. We have 4 drop boxes. We had, thankfully, to the county clerk reporter, Becky Martinez. She lets us commandeer her outside election ballot drop-off box during this time, which is very successful. And people love driving by and dropping off their tax bill in there. And plus we have a drop box in the wall and we have a drop box in the lobby. And we'd also like to thank our security. They are very good about coming up and standing in our office for the last 4 or 5 days, just to make sure that we don't have any issues, or if we do, that there's somebody right there. The biggest deal is the e-checks. The e-checks have really grown, which is you can pay your taxes via e-check. Very easy. You put in your routing number, you put in your account number, you get a receipt right then and there. And it's very handy for or taxes for tax payments. And then, of course, you know, the usual blue envelopes, which everybody adores. Anyway, total we collected 140 million through December 10th. It was all balanced and ready to go by December 15th. So it's ready for the auditor's office to apportion to the different cities and special districts. So any questions?
One.
Any burning questions?
I don't
Thank
hear
you.
any.
We-
Thank you for the report.
We
Yes.
appreciate you, Tracy.
Yes, thank you.
Next speaker.
Good morning, the board and staff. Thank you for having us. Cheryl Berry, I'm the president of the Madera County Historical Society. And I'd like to present Dennis Hart. He has been here numerous times presenting information he's done for the museum on the history of the area of North Fork. And he's also working on another project for 50th anniversary of the opening of the Madera County Museum, which will fall on the exact day of Old Timers Day this year on September 28th. So he's working on a project, and I think he's going to tell you a little bit about that.
Thank you.
It's always a difficult thing to follow Cheryl in any line of work, much less public speaking here. But what you have in front of you, I think, is something that is very important for the history of Madera County. It's a history of the area around North Fork and the Sierra National Forest in the early days, through the eyes and through the words of the people who lived there. And I don't think anything like this has quite been put together before. You'll see it's divided into sections. The Peckinpah family, Julia Tyler Shin, Maurice Benedict Roy Blood, Marcia Putney. These were people who lived there from the founding of the Sierra National Forest in 1907 and before, in the old days of the Sierra Forest Reserve, right up through the 1950s. These are letters that they wrote in response to a researcher from the university in Pennsylvania who wanted to do the definitive history of the early days of the Sierra Forest. He accumulated 4,000 pages worth of material. You do not have 4,000 pages here, thank goodness. All of his materials at the Fresno State Research Library, and I've spent 2 years down there going through the letters that he wrote to these people and they wrote back to him. It really is unparalleled history, and some of it is very emotional, some of it is moving. This is history in the words of those who were there for the 3 Peckinpah boys who were born on Peckinpah Mountain, Charles, Mort, and David. David became the 3rd Superior Court judge in Madera County after William Connolly and Stanley Murray. They all write about being born there, growing up there, what North Fork was like up there. Julia Tyler Shin was the wife of the first supervisor of the Sierra National Forest, Charles Tyler Shin. She lived 30 years beyond her husband, and she had perfect memory about what happened up there. They established the rules of the game in the forest in the early years. There were no rules for the Sierra National Forest about grazing, about timber cutting. They established those rules, and they were both brilliant. Benedict and Blood. Mr. Benedict was the 3rd supervisor of the Sierra National Forest. And Blood was his assistant. Brilliant memory about what happened up there. Marcia Putney. I've been here before with Marcia Putney, a smaller version about her. She was the first female judge in the history of Madera County. You appointed her. Your group appointed her in 1945. And she and her husband, George, were powerhouses up in North Fork for 30 years. As I said in a previous presentation here, in 20 years of researching the Madera Tribune during their lifetime as they were married, they were in the newspaper 750 times because they were doing everything. My time is up. I hope you enjoy reading this. I think the value of this is it's not somebody writing about what they said, it's them saying it and they lived it. And I hope you have a great time reading this. I had a really good time writing it. Thank you so very much. And I think Cheryl has one more word to say. Where is Cheryl? All right. About our 50th anniversary, because I think this is going to be a big deal.
Thank you.
Yes, we're trying to, I know we've talked to the board and a few of the members about helping us or honor and do something special for that day. So hopefully we can pursue that. I know I've talked to a couple on the board regarding that. So we look forward to doing that, making it a great day. And Dennis is working on a whole new book of all of where the first was mentioned about the Historical Society becoming an entity within the community, and then also about where it first came about, approaching the county about moving it into the current building it's in. So it's gonna be kind of interesting. look forward to it. And we will have this available in the library, I mean, in the store at the museum.
Thank you for preserving history.
But
We're
he's
trying.
doing an awesome job.
And I am pleased to say that Krista Riggs has a copy in the Madera Library, and there's a copy in the North Fork Library, and the North Fork History Group has this book. And of course, it's in our library, so thank you. And by the way, the first person who came up with the idea for the Madera County Historical Society, Marcia Putney, up in North Fork. And she was one of the first movers and shakers here, and it was her idea to use this museum, or to use the courthouse as the museum. 20 years before that actually happened. She was ahead of her game. So thank you so much.
Thank
Thank
you.
Thank you for your time. Thank you.
And Mr. Chairman, Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I don't want to brag, but I have the first signed copy by Dennis.
Oh, yours is worth a lot more
Yeah.
now.
Thank you.
Chairman, members of the board, Joel Begay, County Administrative Office. It's my pleasure today to introduce Ms. Janelle Clark, our newest facility superintendent for general services. Ms. Clark started last week, January 2nd. Big shoes to fill, as you know, Raymond Huerta retired after many years of service for the county. But Janelle brings her own experience. She's got 21 plus years of experience in facilities maintenance. 16 years of that was the maintenance mechanic manager at George Brown Fitness. The last 5 years, she's been in Fresno County. The last 4 of that was a supervisor for the General Services Department, but over there, they call it Internal Services Department. She worked her way up, both at George Brown Fitness and in Fresno County. In Fresno, she was also a building maintenance engineer before being promoted within a year to a supervisor. Not only does she have mechanical skills, she also has taken Microsoft Excel courses and has completed managerial and OSHA training. She came highly recommended from folks in Fresno, and we're very happy that she's here. Janelle, would you like to say a few words?
Thank you. I just want to say that I'm absolutely grateful for this opportunity, and I'm hoping that I can bring positive changes, new ideas with my 22 plus years of experience in maintenance and mechanical. So, and if you guys see me out in any of the facilities, so I'm going to be walking around trying to learn your departments and facilities. Please say hi, and if you need anything, reach out.
Thank you so much. Let's give her a hand.
Thanks.
Welcome to Madera County. As I always told the new hires at the employee orientation, you've embarked on a career of public service. Means something, serving people. So thank you. We'll begin the agenda with the board reorganization at this time, number 5 on the agenda. 5A.
Discussion and approval of the reorganization of the chairman pro tem for 2024 calendar year and related presentations.
Okay, nominations are now open for chairman.
Mr. Chair, I'll move to nominate Supervisor Poitras.
You can also make that a motion if you would like to. And I accept that as a motion. Okay, second, motion made and second. And any comment from the public on this item? Not, we'll vote on it.
Supervisor Gonzalez,
Yes.
Supervisor McCauley,
Yes.
Supervisor Wamhaugh,
Yes.
Supervisor Poitras,
Yes.
Chairman Rogers.
Yes,
Vote passes 5-0.
unanimous.
Right.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. All right.
Let's open nominations for Chair Pro Tem. I'll nominate,
Oh,
I'll make a motion that we elect Letty Gonzalez.
I'll second that.
Okay. Any public comment on this item? Not, we'll vote.
Chairman Rogers,
Yes.
Supervisor Poitras.
Yes.
Supervisor Wamhaugh,
Yes.
Supervisor Gonzalez,
Yes.
Supervisor McCauley.
Yes.
Vote passes 5-0.
Okay.
Very good. All right.
Pass the gavel.
Well, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate the great honor to assume the role as chairman of this body. But, I kind of look at our process here at the county. It's not a 1 year to 1 year to 1 year based on who's chairman. It's a continuum. It's something that, we don't start projects and start and stop projects based on the term of the chairman. And we do have many, many things that we're working on. We still have our our measure that we're looking at, potential of passing and reinstituting our traffic measure, our water Sigma. The good news is that we had our GSP approved by the state of California, but of course, this is still in the beginning stages. We have much more work to do. There's always budget opportunities. We have a hospital that needs to open. We continue to support all services of our county as well as public safety. It's definitely important, but I look around at our team and I look at my colleagues and I look countywide and, we're ready for the challenge. We've got people that have been battle tested, battle hardened, and they look at a challenge like it's just one more step we need to take. And I appreciate the teamwork that we have as a county and each and every one of our colleagues that are part of this mission. So thank you very much. And at this time, I would like to ask Chairman Rogers to join me at the podium. Chairman, it's a great honor of mine to present you with a plaque that is in appreciation for your services to the County of Madera. And I'm just going to show everybody, we had to make it very small as far as the number of times Chairman Rogers has been chair, because it's been so many times that we had to make it, the letters pretty small and so forth. But 2015, 2020, the COVID year, which was definitely a challenge, and 2023, definitely we had our share of challenges but victories as well.
Yes.
And so with that, Mr. Chairman, I would like to shake your hand, congratulate you, and I'll leave the plaque there.
Thank you. It's interesting looking at those dates and thinking about the times that these occurred and what occurred in those specific years. For this past year, I've been speaking about the concept of climbing, and climb on has been the theme of my chairmanship this year. And climbing climbing mountains, a perfect metaphor for life and business. And as we've gone through this year, we've faced many challenges, as we always do. Life is full of challenges. It's full of change. It's full of detours, disappointments, dilemmas, redirections, dead ends, dry holes, a lot of things. And I love all those alliteration there, the letter D. And drama, as thank you, as Sally pointed out at our workshop. With all those challenges, you can look at them in one of two ways. You can look at life as these challenges of life as a negative, as a downer, as something that will drive you to fear or to anger, or things that will distract you from the goals of life and distract you from bettering yourself. Or you can look at these as challenges to better yourself personally. And as we climb through life, the only way we're going to face the challenges is to not allow our emotions to distract us from the goals. And you can experience emotion and still keep climbing, right? You can look back and see the great heights you've reached, and look back and maybe have a moment of fear, but you don't let that fear stop you from looking back up and climbing on. And as we went through this year of discussing climbing and climbing on and our goals and all of those things, it wasn't my intent to be instructive, because our managers and the people that work for Madera County are very smart, very capable, very self-willed people who want to better themselves. My only goal in bringing this motive to our county was to motivate us in a good direction, to remind us of what we need to do in life. And sometimes we get distracted and forget our purpose, but to redirect our minds to that purpose. And so I would say to you, we've climbed a nice mountain this year, and the view looked pretty good on top as we finish out this last year. But there's another mountain to climb. So climb on and do it well with style. Thank you. Mr. Chair, I failed to say something in regards to the board. I want to say that this is the easiest board I've ever worked with, as far as they made my job so simple and not difficult. And what a cohesive group of people. You know, we're different people. We have sometimes differing opinions, but I've really enjoyed working with each of you. You're very skilled, and you have great qualities about you, and I really appreciate you so very much, and I wanted to make that known. Also appreciate my staff, all of our staff. I want to say a big thank you to Matt Skolnick, who's been with me this last year, especially. We worked hard on Climb On, and I feel that it was a great success, largely due to Matt's efforts, and I want to thank him for all the effort he put into that. And he's definitely a guy that gets things done. He has moved the needle. He's kept me climbing, and he's been climbing along beside me. We're partners. Thank you, Matt.
Is he wearing camo because of all the flack he takes?
Yeah, could be. Yeah, that sounds like.
Oh, yeah, there you go. Right.
Yeah.
It needs the oil changed.
Thank you. Fill it up too. No. Oh, boy. All right. Well, thank you, everybody. And we will move on to the consent calendar. And are there any items on the consent calendar that one of my colleagues or somebody from the public would like to have moved for further discussion? I know that we have 6V as in Victor from somebody online would like to discuss. Are there any others?
Yeah, Chair, I did have a couple questions, as well as one comment. I believe on item E, the resolution in the backup has 2023 listed. I'm assuming it should be 2024, but I just wanted to flag that. And then had a couple questions on V myself, as well as item W.
Okay. V and W. Okay. All right. Any others? If not, let's go ahead and then move to E, just for clarification on that particular item.
And so again, in the backup, the resolution, I believe, has 2023 listed as the date, but I would again assume it's supposed to be 2024. Don't need you to sign it twice.
Hi, Chair, members of the board. Item E, I'm looking at an agreement, not a resolution, with Community and Housing Outreach Service. E is an elephant,
Let me double check.
eggplant. I see, Chair and members of the board, this agreement is made and entered into this day of blank 2023. So with the motion, that is a typographical error. It can be to revise that date to the date it's entered into, which is 2024.
Okay.
And the term does go back to January 1st, 2024 to June 30th, 2027. And that's a typographical error.
Very good. So we'll make that in the motion when we get to the consent calendar action. Perfect. Hey, thank you very much. Good catch. Let's move on to 6B, Victor, and let's go to our online participant, and then we'll go to Supervisor McCauley. Or is I believe it's Mr. Metz, is that?
Go ahead, Dan.
Yes, thank you very much. Dan Metz, Madera County. Item 6V is regarding North Fork cleanup from the Fork fire. And I have a couple of questions about the amount. Is the 1.5 million, is that, I have several questions. Is that the total revised amendment, or is that just the amount to be added to? And what would, if so, what is the original and what is the amount being added?
Good morning, Board. Joseph Wilder from the Sheriff's Office. In regard to that question, the initial outlay from your board was 1.5 million. The addition here is $250,000.
Very good.
Okay, so that would make the new amount 1.8 million. If I'm reading the numbers right. And what is that for? Assessment and monitoring? That sounds like inspections and such, you know, keeping track of the actual physical cleanup, which I guess is separate. And if so, what is the physical cleanup? The 1.5 million scattered over 43 properties comes to 36,000 per property or per structure. And the 250,000, of course, would increase that a little bit. That seems like a lot for monitoring, but maybe you can help me understand the difference between assessment, monitoring, cleanup, and the total amount for the cleanup versus this 1.8 million.
So essentially, sir, this is two separate pieces of a puzzle. So the first piece is the assessment and monitoring. That's what's before the board today, is that contract. So this is part of the responsibilities on the county for doing the cleanup. This is monitoring with the state, complying with state laws for environmental cleanup and all of the other necessary items per law. The other part of the contract, or another separate contract, excuse me, is the actual physical removing debris. And that contract is with Anvil Construction, and that was approximately $1 million.
So the assessment and monitoring is greater than the cleanup itself?
That is correct, sir.
Wow. Okay. Then the next question is about the 75% of the cost for cleanup. Is that 75% of the 1 million or 75 of the 1.8 million? And how much of that has been requested and granted? This 250,000 additional and the 1.5 million, how much of that is coming from the general fund?
So what is going on is this is being funded by disaster funds from the state. So the state comes in with a cost share percentage with the county. So usually that is a 75-25 split where the county has 25% of the responsibilities of the costs. We are currently in progress with the state to try and increase that cost share, get it up higher so it reduces the overall county share, but we're still trying to plead our case with the state about where that is and why we need an increased cost share.
Okay, so how much has been granted so far?
So the way it works with disaster funding is the county has to front the money, and then we then request the money back from the state through what they call a damage survey report. So essentially we get all the costs that we have, staff time, all the different types of costs that are incurred by the county, and then we send that up for reimbursement from the state.
So has that been submitted yet, or is that forthcoming?
The state has a protocol where until the cleanup or the process of the project has been completed, you cannot submit for reimbursement.
Okay, and then thank you very much, Joe. One more final question. It says that one site incurred an additional 65,000 due to it being beyond the normal scope of work, and there was some flooding in the basement or something like that. Is that 65,000 a part of this $250,000 request, or is that for the physical cleanup?
That was an amendment on the actual hands on the ground, picking up the debris from anvil contractors.
Okay, so that was okay. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Supervisor McCauley.
Yes, thank you, Chair, and thank you, Sergeant, for being here today. I do appreciate you outlining this item for us and kind of taking us through step by step where those additional costs are coming from. My only question was in pertaining to the reimbursements. I'm assuming everything that we're putting out is eligible for reimbursements. As you said, we have to go through the process and apply for that reimbursement, but I just want to make sure that all the work we're doing is theoretically eligible for those reimbursements.
We've been extremely cautious with this project due to the size and scope of the project. Myself and Deputy Director Marr have been weekly calls with Cal OES, and particularly regarding the site with the flooded basement. We actually had Cal OES staff come down, visually inspect what we had going on, and make sure that what we were going to do was covered by state reimbursement. So we made sure that as we went along, we encountered these issues, we stepped back to them and say, this is what we have going on. We want to make sure when we're moving forward, we're moving A, in the correct way, the way it needs to be done, and B, where we're going to maximize the county's share, where we're going to get all of this money that we can back.
Okay, thank you for your work with that. I do appreciate it. I know Fresno is still fighting with the state over reimbursements from Creek Fire. So really do appreciate you guys being very thorough and very careful to make sure we're getting those reimbursements. So no more questions on V, but in regards to item W, I just wanted to double check. So are we using the tree mortality fund in order to tackle some of the storm related debris from the February, March storms? Is that what we're doing? Or is this strictly tree mortality, bark beetle die off kind of activities? I was a little unsure.
So we are working with Public Works for the storm debris. So we are leveraging funds from their sources to complete that work. They're paying the invoices, and we're handling the actual physical work, dealing with the contractors and things of that nature. Tree mortality, we are trying to keep that entirely separate due to the fact tree mortality is being run as a state program and the storm debris is a federal FEMA program. So we're trying to keep them separate so we're not in an audit situation with them.
Okay, thank you for the clarification.
No problem, sir.
All right, thank you. Are there any members of the public that have any questions on consent calendar items? Hearing and seeing none, I will accept a motion for action.
I'll move to approve
With the amended,
with the amended.
with the correction on the agenda. I'll
On the-
second.
Okay. We have a motion and a second. Roll call vote, please.
Give me a second. Okay. Supervisor Supervisor Rogers,
Yes.
Supervisor Gonzalez,
Yes.
Supervisor Wamhaugh,
Yes.
Supervisor McCauley,
Yes.
Chairman Poitras,
Yes.
vote passes 5-0.
Very good. Thank you. Moving on to discussion items. Today we have a presentation of a proclamation naming January 2024 as National Slavery and Human Trafficking Awareness Month. I believe that Deborah Martinez is going to be heading up this discussion, which is it's very tragic. And on the proclamation itself, I'm just going to mention a few things that that really stood out. Is first of all, it is modern day slavery that many of us are aware of, but I don't think that many people even think about that California has one of the highest incidences of human trafficking in the nation because of our location with airports and harbors. In 2021, an estimated 1 out of every 6 endangered runaways reported to the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children are likely to be child sex trafficking victims with an average age of 15 years old. The International Labor Organization recognizes that there are about 27.6 million people in forced labor, and 12% of victims are children. In 2022, the U.S. Department of Labor identified 158 goods from 77 countries made by forced or child labor. And here in Madera County, there's an estimated 150 to 200 people that are trafficked every year, again, right in our county. And we just like to recognize as a Board of Supervisors that we urge all citizens to pledge to recommit themselves to work towards ending human trafficking and the evil of enslavement and save innocent victims at home and abroad. We have an extensive team that is involved with fighting human trafficking. They range from government services to private foundations. And it's great. And I salute all those who are involved in fighting this horrendous crime. So, Deborah.
Good morning, Chairman, Board of Supervisors. I appreciate you spending the time on this acknowledgement of the prevention for natural slavery and anti-trafficking. Yeah, you're right. It's a large team because it's a large problem. Our kiddos are more subject to this type of victimhood now more than ever due to the fact that we have a lot of mental health and other stressors in the society that's causing that. And unfortunately, what the numbers don't say is that most likely the majority that are going to be victimized are going to have some experience with child abuse or severe neglect. So we've had a lot of them will be foster youth. So we do encounter them quite often. So the team is quite large. I have them formed behind me. So they're going to be talking about all the different activities and things that they were doing this month. I'm going to allow them to speak, and I'm going to be passing out the Red Sand Project. And as you recall, it signifies the fact that we lose folks through the cracks, the folks that we could have interceded maybe if we were more aware. So the Red Sand, we have asked you to look for actual sidewalk and post it on Facebook that you put the sand there so that we cover the holes so we are able to be there for the folks that really need us. Okay, so I'll do that. And actually, you just met Nikki last week, so she can say hello to you again and just acknowledge her first such prevention month.
Good morning. Thank you for recognizing such an important topic. It is a topic that my family has personally been dealing with and for a couple of years now. And so all the prevention efforts and the efforts that go into helping youth and men and women who are a part of slavery and human trafficking is super important. And I appreciate that as a county, you're all making important efforts in that and all of the team behind me. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning, Sally Moreno, your district attorney. Just here to talk about, part of our involvement in human trafficking is, again, as Ms. Martinez indicated, these victims tend to fall through the cracks. Oftentimes when we first see them, they're looked at as defendants. And we have to be very careful and evaluate what's going on. And one of the people that really helps me and Madera in general to do that is April Molina. Ms. Molina runs Olive, which is a program that helps the victims of human trafficking. And I'm going to ask her to speak behind me, particularly because Olive is putting on an amazing class later this month that aims at looking at these victims and seeing them where they are. They exist in our society every day, and we walk past them and we don't know the signs and we don't know how to help. So it really is building awareness. So Ms. Molina.
Good morning, supervisors. I would just like to start off by thanking you for shuffling your seats because my OCD was going into overdrive with the names being different than the person behind them. So I'm really glad that happened or I wouldn't be able to talk.
I want to thank you guys for your support in this proclamation. Bringing awareness is step one for for combating human trafficking. As director, I'm also case manager and victim advocate for women coming out of sex trafficking specifically. And I can tell you that I started as a volunteer about 6 years ago now. And before that, I cleaned houses for 18 years. And it's about the same thing. You're still cleaning up, right? But you're kind of trying to guide people back to a path that they have not lived for a very long time. And with the trauma and everything that has gone on behind the scenes with them, it can be very difficult and very challenging. We will be hosting a couple of different events. One of them I'm actually going to let Audrey and Sarah promote because they're better at it than I am. And one of them, Audrey actually brought to Madera years ago as a volunteer, and I just like to give her credit for it. We're still continuing the Red Sand Project. Every year we pass out red sand. I have some on order for probation, and then we will be hosting an event January 25th from 1 to 1:30 at Courthouse Park, where we will actually be pouring sand in the sidewalks. It is eco-friendly, just so everybody knows. It's eco-friendly. It's made that way on purpose, so it's not going to damage anything. And then I know. I do like the environment to stay clean. And the other one is actually more important to me. I'm a mom of, my kids are all adults now, but my oldest daughter was actually either groomed or involved in trafficking at the age of 13. And as parents, my husband and I had no idea until about 10 years later. And so I will be hosting a training for parents, specifically for educators, for anybody who's really involved with youth or young people to come and learn what the signs are. We're going to talk about the trafficker. We're going to talk about the victim. We're going to talk about the buyer. We're going to talk about cultural norms that drive trafficking in our nation. And then we're going to do some prevention for parents and give them the tools to start looking at the lives of their children so that they can spot the things that we missed. And so this is really important to me. It's January 19th from 6 to 8 p.m. It is free of charge. It will be held at 4th Street Church of God, 222 North End Street. We're going to provide food. I don't want anybody to have any reason to not show up. We're going to have childcare for those that are under the age of 12. I would recommend if you do have teenagers, nobody under the age of 13, because we are talking about sex for sale. But anyways, just if you know anybody, it's all on our website, allofmadera.com. I appreciate Sally being in our board of directors is set up of many law enforcement officials. And I so much appreciate their perspective on things. And the things they are doing to help the women that come our way. So thank you very much. I'm out of things to say.
Thank you.
It's the Madera way. We do it together. But if you miss that program, you're going to really miss an opportunity to learn.
Thank you.
My name is Carlene Ortiz. I've been here for the last 3 years. Proclamation, but never spoken. I'm not a good speaker, so I apologize. I am a supervisor with Madera County Department of Social Services, specifically for our hotline, but also my other role, one of my other roles is CSEC liaison department. Child welfare I've been involved with for about approximately 15 years, so it's very important to me. And starting as a sexual abuse investigator and then now in a role as a supervisor for CSEC liaison. We've had a win recently, which I'm very excited about. In May, we'll be sending a team to North Carolina for training to start a multidisciplinary team to recognize and to serve this population. I currently host a CSEC steering committee every other month, I'm sorry. And so we have on board Madera Sheriff's Department, Madera Police Department, hopefully Chowchilla PD soon, probation, victim services, CAPMC, MCAP. And our department as well. So I'm hoping that in the future we'll be able to fully embrace and serve and really recognize this unrecognized population here in the county. Yeah.
Thank you, Carlene.
Morning, Chairman, members of the board. I just want to take an opportunity to thank you for your support and shining a light on this so extremely important topic. Our deputies are out there every day working tirelessly to identify these victims, make the appropriate referrals, and do everything we can to end this horrific crime. Very grateful for not only your support, but the support of everybody standing behind me. We have an amazing team, and obviously just law enforcement alone would never be able to make a difference. So it's that relationships that we've built with social services and CAPMC and the DA's office that really makes a difference. We'll be presenting at the Nazarene Church up in Oakhurst on January 11th at 6 p.m. We're happy to, we go out quite frequently and talk to different groups of people. So if anybody has a need and they want to come out and speak, we're always happy to. Again, thank you, board, and thanks to all of our amazing deputies out there.
Thank you, Sheriff.
My name is Jennifer Coronado. I'm with CAPMC Victim Services. First, I really want to recognize Carlene for starting that CSEC committee. It's really turned around, and I'm really excited to get that MDT really going. It's really great to see what the future of Madera holds on combating sex trafficking to minors. I also wanted to bring awareness that January 11th, so this Thursday, is actually Human Trafficking Awareness Day. So please wear blue on Thursday, and we continue to enjoy our partnership with the county and the board. And really, Madera is unique to other counties in terms of combating and being out there for victims of crime. So thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Krista Weens. I'm the Executive Director of the Central Valley Justice Coalition. I want to say thank you today for using this opportunity to commit to joining with all of us in the work to prevent and end human trafficking. The Justice Coalition has been at work in the Valley for nearly 15 years now, educating about the realities and the vulnerabilities that exist that feed into trafficking. We cannot fight trafficking without first understanding its root causes and its realities. We cannot end trafficking without addressing demand. We encourage you to continue to learn from those in your community, to take classes. As you heard, Olive is offering several. The Justice Coalition has them available online at justiceco.org. They're self-paced and streaming. You can take them there as well as in person. Please join us in wearing blue and join us in the Pledge to Stop Trafficking on the 16th, where we raise awareness in multiple communities in the Valley and support others who are doing the work of also addressing the demand for both sex and labor trafficking in our communities, really wrestling with some of the tensions about why we find ourselves in this situation today, because unless we swim upstream a little bit, we're not going to be able to actually stop the flow. So thanks very much.
Thank you, Colleen. Appreciate that.
Good morning, board. I am actually a Madera resident myself, Audrey Cavazos, and I have Sarah with me as well. We are with Fresno EOC, Central Valley Against Human Trafficking. So Krista mentioned Pledge to Stop Trafficking. So I will be here in Madera, but we also have Fresno and Clovis. We'll be collecting donations, monetary donations. And the Madera location is, I'm trying to think, it's Cleveland, the Walgreens on Cleveland. So we'll be out there from 7 to 5:30 collecting monetary donations. So please take the pledge with us on that day. Thank
Very
you.
good. Thank you for the collaboration.
So again, thank you very much for your time, and I hope we are able to make one or more of those activities.
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
So, board members, does anybody have any comments or questions?
I have a comment, Chairman, if I may, and this is seeing how many people are here representing this cause. You know, when I started my police career, just like our DA Sally Moreno mentioned, we treated sex trafficking victims as defendants, and it's been not that long of a time where we've made this transition. And just to see how many people are now on board and involved, we still have a lot of ways to go, but it's really encouraging to see how we've made this transition and working towards ending this terrible, terrible, enterprise that is out there. All of CAPMC, DA, in the work of, BSS and just everyone involved recognizing this need and moving forward in such a massive capacity is really encouraging to see, because, you know, just like, you know, our CAO Jay Varney and our Sheriff Tyson Pogue, they've all been in law enforcement a long time. And this has not been the case for the majority of their career, and not even the majority of my career as a police officer. So I'm just really encouraged by all of this. So thank you, guys.
Thank you, Supervisor. Let's go to the public. Are there any members of the public who would like to make a comment at this time? I know we have somebody online. So go ahead.
Go ahead, Mr. Metz.
Yes, thank you, Dan Metz from Madera County. I just want to underline everything that's been said today and highlighted. I really appreciate the work of these people, including Ms. Molina, who are fighting against sex trafficking. I'm sure I have no clue how tough it is, how down and dirty, and how many tears can be shed in the field in fighting this awful crime, this awful malady. So thank you, Ms. Molina, and everybody who is involved. And thank you, Sheriff Pogue, for the plug for the meeting Thursday night at the Nazarene Church, for the a representative of your organization coming in to present some details about this. So just thank you to everybody who's involved in this effort. Thank you.
Thank you. And we have, you know, John, when I kind of saw you there, but I was thinking you're part of the group, and I realized, no, he wants to make a public comment. So there you go, because I know you're super involved, and so thank you so much.
Well, it's just nice being able just to do something. You know, it's a lot of life can turn upside down, and to turn pain into some way you can help somebody, where you're just like you're helpless in one scenario and everything you can do, and to do something and you're just helping people. And I obviously thank you for your time, and I wish it's just to be said, thank you for your help in this sex trafficking cause, in this enslavement cause, and bringing awareness just to that one thing, that this sex trafficking being second to most to the drug industry, $1 billion industry, and helping bring people awareness that people can believe that people are property, and sex trafficking, slavery does exist. And just that simple outrage of a social media post, hey, we can do something. And those outrages to the parents, hey, I understand your kid's acting wild. You know what? This shows symptoms. These are people who understand and help and aren't judgmental. We're here to help. And just thank you for those things that you are doing.
Thank you very much. And that's John Molina for the record.
Just a quick comment.
Yes.
You know, it is a startling reality that right now in this modern age, there are more people in slavery than ever in the history of the world that they can remember. That's shocking. This is a modern age. We're supposed to be getting better, not worse. And we have to face that issue with firm resolve. And when I look at my grandchildren, it becomes very, very poignant to me. I think of them and I think, what if this happened to one of them? I would be devastated. And imagine there's some mom, some grandmother, grandfather, dad, brother, sister out there that are thinking about their loved one that's been taken. But in this industry, put yourself in that empathetic position, and mercy will flow from you to face the challenge of this huge crisis in our world. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yes.
My husband, John Molina, in all of his humility, has volunteered to assist in our EPIC project. We worked with the Justice Coalition to bring this project to Madera.
and what his role in that is to reach out to buyers and educate them, because a lot of people don't understand that they could be potentially purchasing a slave. And so he gives up one Friday night from 7 to 10 p.m. a month, along with 3 other men who are, one of them drives all the way down from Pleasanton to do this. One is a parole officer, and the other one drives from Clovis. And these men sit and they take call after call after call. And it was an incredible thing to see them actually engage with people who didn't know. And so I just wanted to, because he does so much more than just, he is on our board of directors, and he also engages with our women, only when I'm there, of course, because of the appropriateness. But he has this way of getting them involved in something as simple as comic books. And believe it or not, it is the simple things that can change a person's perspective and can change their life. And it can pull them away and get them involved in something else. And it's his passion is comic book collecting. He has warped some of my clients into collecting Spider-Gwen and Wonder Woman and all of the female empowering comic books. Anyway, I just wanted to highlight his role as just, he might be just my husband or just a member of the public, but he's much more important than he realizes. So.
Without a doubt. That's why when I saw him standing there, I thought, well, he's just part of the group.
He is part of the
He
group.
is.
I don't know why he didn't stand up.
Right. Yeah. So very good. Well, thank you so much. So let's go ahead and gather. We're going to take a picture of the presentation of the proclamation, and I'll ask my colleagues to join me. Seven B. This is a presentation of a service award to our clerk recorder. And I'll have to tell you that this is an extremely rare event. It's a wonderful event. It's a great, excellent, and outstanding and remarkable event, but it is very, very rare. So I'm going to, we have our CAO, Jay Varney, who is going to be making the presentation and going into more detail about what makes this event so remarkable.
Okay, thank you, Chairman, and congratulations on being seated, both to you and Supervisor Gonzalez as this year's leadership. In December, normally we do all of the employee service recognitions. This particular one, though, is quite out of the ordinary. I think there's only been one other person in the history of county service who's worked more than 50 years, and definitely not any department heads that we're familiar with. So rather than prepare a long speech, we're going to ask the
Behind you.
oh, well, you're behind me there. It's just, if it was Tracy sneaking up on me, I wouldn't be surprised. But so rather than read off something, I'm going to ask you some questions and have you answer for the esteemed audience, because Oh, yeah, yeah. I don't think you were here when the people got to Putney Ranch. You've been here for a while, but so maybe a few questions like, so since you're only 39 years old, you must have started pretty young as a person. Did you start as a high school ROP or as a full-time employer? How did you kick off your career?
I kicked off my career in 1973. I was 18 years old and about 5 months out of high school when I was recruited to work at welfare, which was out there at Crone Cottage out on 28. Honestly, I don't know how I got that job. I just know that I was working at the olive factory, Oak Birdie Olives, actually sorting olives. That's how I found out that that's hard work. I was there for 7 days when welfare called me, so I left. I had an interview, they gave me a job and I was there. It was a full-time temporary. So it was supposed to end in December. They kept me through January and the county clerk bowled with my boss at the time and she needed someone to come and work in the county clerk's office. So I went there February 1 of 1974 and I've been there ever since. So.
What was the last non-elected held before you were elected first time?
I was the chief assistant county clerk recorder in up to 1990. I finished the term for the county clerk that was there at the time, Juanita Price. She retired and I took over in May, I think it was May 1st of 1990, and then assumed my elected position on January 1 of 91. Questions?
We are former law enforcement, so the questions never end. So when you took over, it was all three roles. County clerk, recorder, elections was already a package, or did it become a package later?
All three roles were a package, but I was also clerk of the Superior Court. Oddly enough, I was the clerk of the Superior Court until 1990. Back then, trial court funding was a big deal. In order for the courts to get trial court funding, they had to take over all of the clerk of court functions. And Judge DeGroot from Chowchilla didn't want to come in and take that from me so that no one would think that I had done something wrong. And so he says, but I don't know how much longer we can leave it with you. Because I had all their files, I had all their exhibits, all their drugs, their weapons, everything. I had that in our safe. And, but then we had the big fire of Madera County and all bets were off. My office was flooded to about the ankles. And so I thought that was a good time to give the courts their court files since they were underwater.
Maybe Sergeant Wilder that had money
Well, some of
for
that
for
money,
abatement money.
I'd
It
love
might be a
money
little
right
late
now.
for a 33-year-old claim, might be a little late. So you've seen a ton of changes on both sides of your job, probably. Which role is the most challenging and what's the biggest change you've seen in that? This will be the last question.
Probably the most challenging is elections. I mean, you know, when I took over in 1990, we used the automatic lever machines to vote. I sold that equipment to New York, the state of New York. I think they still use those lever machines actually. And I bought a voting system. I don't think anyone noticed that I bought a voting system. I bought it. I don't remember asking the board for the money. I don't know where it came from, but I bought a new voting system by November 1 of 1990. That system served us well. We had it for about 27 years. But what I have found is that over the course of the years, people have become more interested in the process. And I think it's great. But at the point that you start losing trust in it, that's where the problems arise. And so it has become frustrating because I and the people that work for me work diligently to ensure that we have safe and secure elections in Madera County. That's what I have control over. And so we appreciate people being interested in the process and wanting to work at our vote centers, but we also need for them to understand how the process works. And county clerk, just because I'm elected, I have very little control over the laws, right? I don't make those laws, but I do have to follow the law to the letter of the law. And so from that perspective, it is the most difficult. It is the one that is the most, that has a higher profile than the other offices that I hold. But recorder, that division is very important to Madera County. That is where we hold all of the county's historical land documents. That is where those documents show chain of possession with regards to any piece of property. It's vital. And it's vital that we protect those records and do what we can. And I think that's why the legislature in its infinite wisdom knew that in hard times, they would need to provide for recorders to be able to modernize their systems. And so they added money to our recording fees and made sure that that money was there so that we could use that money specifically for that purpose in recorder services. So it's vitally important to Madera County, and it should be to all of you.
It's like Columbo, which is a show that we're both old enough to have watched. There's always one more thing, right? So I just wanted to remind the public that between efforts between you and the district attorney, you have successfully participated in prosecution of people attempting to commit voter fraud by getting fraudulent votes into the system. I don't know if we want to comment on that real quick, and that's the last of the last questions.
RDA, Sally Moreno, back there in the back, she has worked closely with me to bring people to prosecution when we catch people trying to vote twice. Even those people that vote here and then they move away. I don't know if they move away because they voted there and they want to go vote somewhere else. I'm not sure how that works. But we have managed to prosecute at least 2 people for voter fraud and 1 young woman that was committing fraud with regards to voter registration. And I think that is also vital to what we do. We need people to understand if you're going to go out there and commit those crimes, we're going to do everything we can to catch you and make sure that you're prosecuted to the fullest extent, because it's 1 vote per person. That's it. 1 vote. It's vital. It's our voice.
Just sort of by way of public comment, I wanted to say, first of all, when Becky hands me a case, like, I don't have to do anything except walk in. It's all locked and loaded. She's done all the interviews. She found everything. And interestingly, the one that she found where the gal was changing registration, she was like, oh, Steve Smith, I know Steve. Steve's not going to re-register as a Republican. Who turned that in? Flip, 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 flip. And that's how she found it. That's how it works in Madera, where she's that involved and that on top of everything. And I wanted, while I'm up here, to say, as a woman and a department head, working in government, it's interesting being a leader. And it's been an honor and a pleasure for me to have Becky to look up to. We're about the same age. She's a little younger than me, but to work with dignity and grace and not give in and be assertive without being aggressive and obnoxious is a challenge. And Becky sets the standard for me and for the county. So thank you for providing that example.
I do want to say one thing, and to Sally's point, when I started back in 73, 74, there really weren't very many women in the workforce in general. And there most certainly weren't women of color back then that held high positions. It's changed a little bit. And we still need to do a little bit more work on that. This board, previous boards, there have been 3 women on the board, 1 of color. And that's huge. I had a reporter ask me about all the pictures out there. And she said, "Where are the women?" I said, "Oh, they're there. You just have to look for them." So we've got to do better out there to promote women and women of color. I want to say,
Speaking of
maybe not-
women, talk about battle tested. You mentioned battle tested, battle proven. My friend, Becky Martinez, has definitely been battle tested. She's a friend. She's a colleague. If you're ever in the trenches, you want to be in the trenches with her. We've been through some really awful times together. And I have to say, I appreciate her friendship and her counsel. And I love her like I couldn't love anybody else. So anyway, well, except for Rob Poitras. But anyway, congratulations on 50 years. And they should be roses, but I couldn't afford all that. But anyway, congratulations.
Can I just say that Tracy was about the only person that I used to stop on the highway for and make a phone call to from a payphone. Because I come from those days. I come from those days. Now, can I just say this? Well, first I have a question. If we put the county's retention schedule on the same day as this presentation of the plaque, was that by design?
Oh.
Anyway,
I get it.
yeah, we're retaining me.
Mm.
Can I have it? I want it. I did ask Jay for, instead of a 50-year plaque, if I could have a diamond. He said he'd work on it. And so I looked through it and there's nothing.
Oh.
But anyway, all I want to say is thank you very much for the acknowledgement. And I want to thank my constituency and thank them for allowing me to serve all of these years and allowing me to do the work of the people. And I'd like to thank my staff. Oh. They are always ready and willing to stand with me and the people that I serve. And I want to thank my family because, my career hasn't been easy on them. And so if you could stand, Melanie and Mike, but they've supported me unconditionally. So thank you very much. I'm done, Jay.
I'd like to thank your staff too for making you come here today. Yes. I didn't want to have to send the sheriff over there.
I know.
So we do have a small certificate for you. So give it to you. And I don't know if you photo with the board or what the board's pleasure is on this. That's normally what we do.
Please.
So let me hold it so Wendy can.
Mr. Chair, can I chime in while we take the photo?
Please.
Oh, so I'll wait for. So in reviewing the agenda and preparing for today's meeting, I thought to myself, what do you say to a person who has devoted 50 years of her life to a county, other than thank you so much, Rebecca, for your service, for your dedication. Your staff is a testament to your leadership, and we appreciate all that you do for the county, for all of us. And And again, as a woman, thank you for that example. I hope that no one can fill your shoes, but I walk in that same path as you.
Thank you. I just like to mention that, there's over the last, I don't know, decade or so, there's been a lot of nationally, a lot of questioning, and it's in the press about, voter fraud and integrity of the elections and so forth. And people will make certain comments to me, and I said, well, I don't know anything about any other jurisdiction. I'm not going to speak for another jurisdiction, but I can tell you that Madera County's election department is of the highest integrity and excellence. And Becky is the one that leads the way, and her staff. And so it's not even a question. So whatever you want to talk about, it's not about Madera County. So thank you so much.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, I have to say ditto to that because, a few years ago, this became nationally a kind of a thing. And I've made the same comment. I think I made it publicly back then as chairman that I've never had even 1 second of question about what went on back there in the counting of the vote or the way our elections have been conducted, and that's due to your leadership. And congratulations on a sterling 50 years commitment and excellence.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It's just unparalleled.
Out on that. Anybody have any comments for the good of the order on this particular item?
We give backpacks? I didn't even know we gave backpacks. I didn't know we gave backpacks. I know, I didn't know.
Seeing and hearing none, we will now move on to 7C. This is Public Works Department, Engineering Division, the second reading to adopt an ordinance amending section 1036-010 of chapter 1036 of the Madera County Code by adding subsection S thereto related to the parking restrictions in Treasure Hills Drive frontage roads through the Tesoro Viejo development.
Good morning, Chairman, members of the board. Happy New Year. Jared Carter with Public Works. Yes, this item is a second reading and adoption for amendment to the ordinance related to no parking. And as noted, it would add a section or a few sections of no parking in the Tesoro Viejo development area along one side of the frontage roads in some of those neighborhoods. I'm available for any questions.
Any questions? Yes, sir.
Yes, I did have one question, and I was asked about this as far as clarification, as far as on those frontage roads. It's not on the main road, it is inside the frontage road and only on one side of that frontage road. Is that correct?
Yes, correct. It's on the main line side of the residential frontage road. And the issue they're having is they're designed for two-way traffic on those roads, but with folks parking along that inside or outside, I guess, depending on which direction you look at it, curb along the median in between the main road and the frontage road, it's restricting the traffic through there. So by establishing the no parking zone, it'll create the ability for the
So they're still allowed to park on the frontage road close to the house,
Correct.
just not on the opposite side of the frontage road.
Correct.
Okay. got it.
Yes.
Thank you.
Very good. Thank you. Any comments from members of the public? Seeing and hearing none, I'll accept a motion for action.
Move to approve?
I'll second.
Roll call vote, please.
Supervisor McCauley?
Yes.
Supervisor Wamhaugh?
Yes.
Supervisor Rogers?
Yes.
Supervisor Gonzalez?
Yes.
Chairman Poitras?
Yes.
Vote passes 5-0.
Thank you. Now we'll move on to discussion, consideration, adopt a resolution approving applications for the TDA funds fiscal year 23-24, authorizing the Chief Development Service of Public Works Director to execute and submit the applications to the MCTC.
Push the button.
I'm sorry. Again, Monty Cox, program. I'm the program manager for the transit operation here at the county. What you have before you is an annual application for Transportation Development Act funds that are used in the transportation program. The Transportation Development Act includes two parts. It includes the state transit assistance and the local transportation fund. The state transit assistance is dedicated to transit use only and can be used for operating or capital purposes in the transit program. The local transportation fund is dedicated to transit as well. However, if determined through a process called unmet transit needs held by the Madera County Transportation Commission on an annual basis, there are no unmet transit needs that those funds are needed for, they can be used for streets and roads purposes. Historically, the LTF funds are used primarily for streets and roads here at the county. About less than 10% of them are used for transit currently. So with these funds and these funds allow us to leverage federal and state grants to help operate the transit program in the county and also keep us from needing any support from the general fund. With that, I can answer any questions that you might have.
Very good. Thank you, Monty. Are there any questions? Hearing none, are there any members of the public who have any questions regarding this item? Bring it back to the board for
Move
action.
to approve. Second.
Roll call vote, please.
Supervisor Rogers?
Yes.
Supervisor McCauley?
Yes.
Supervisor Wamhaugh?
Yes.
Supervisor Gonzalez?
Yes.
Chairman Poitras?
Yes.
Vote passes 5-0.
Thank you, Monty. Moving on to the Sheriff Coroner's Office. Discussion and consider unanticipated revenue in the amount of $810,406 derived for the general fund for the Sheriff's Cal OAS SHSOP 20 to 95, and Sheriff Cal OES SH. I don't have my glasses on. It's BP Fund 21-81 fixed assets for fiscal year 2023-24. I'll put my glasses on next time. Thank you. Thought I could do it, but no.
Right. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Joel Bugay, County Administrative Office. Just kind of want to explain, the item is a grant and funding that the Sheriff's Office received in the previous fiscal year, but because of the timing and when the vehicles get finished, that money, because it gets deposited, it's not held in a special fund. It rolls into the fund balance, but it's not real general fund. It is money that was a grant funding that was meant for this. So it looks like it's been taken out of general fund, but because it crossed fiscal years.
Very good. Thank you. Any questions?
Yeah, Chairman, if I may, Joel, the only question I have is, so was this budgeted when we went into the fiscal year? So when we were having our discussions back in June, was there an understanding at the administrative level that we were going to be moving these funds at some point in time? Or is this an error that we just caught at some point in time over the last?
Yeah, and I think, and maybe I defer to Whitney on that. It's hard to get the timing because if there's a chance that you can get it done on June 30th. So the timing of when you finalize the budgets and when the vehicle is going to get delivered and when you can cut the final. So it just so happened that the expectation was to get it done by June 30th. So it's not budgeted in the budget. But if you miss that, then it rolls and you don't have the budget for it. So obviously the goal is to still get it done through the fiscal year, but in this instance, that cross fiscal years.
Morning Supervisor. This project was plagued by numerous delays. It started during COVID and it's been one delay after another. Really no fault of the vendor, supply and demand issues, and like COVID issues, everything else. So we had hoped to finish it within the same fiscal year. Ended up not. We're happy to report that we did receive it. We'll be back here.
Thank you.
Very good. Thank you. Any other questions? Any members of the public have a question regarding this item? Hearing none, I'll accept a motion for action.
Move to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Roll call vote, please.
Supervisor Gonzalez?
Yes.
Supervisor McCauley?
Yes.
Supervisor Wamhaugh?
Yes.
Supervisor Rogers?
Yes.
Chairman Poitras?
Yes.
Vote passes 5-0.
Thank you. We'll move on to pending legislation. The first item is 8A. This is discussion consideration to authorize a letter in opposition to Assembly Bill 702 as introduced by Assembly Member Jackson relating to probation services.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Jay Vardy, County CAO. We also have Stephanie Stokel here, Assistant Chief of Probation. Chief Childers is out right now. So this bill has been up and down. You may recall that last year, both CPOCs, CSAC and RCRC did a joint letter to oppose this legislation. It was defeated. The author brought it back. And then his hearing was more or less, that was actually set for today in this second year of the session, was somewhat voluntarily canceled. So there's kind of a difference of opinion on, is this bill dead for good? Or is the author going to bring it back in some fashion or form or make an attempt at such throughout the rest of the legislative year? So we felt like out of an abundance of caution, it was better to have you go ahead and consider the letter, to approve it if it's your wish, and to send it on to the Assembly Public Safety Committee so that should this bill come back in some form, that they have the opinion of the board on behalf of the people of Madera County about this change to something that's already been changed and approved and isn't even fully realized yet. It's not necessary, and it does some very detrimental things to funding for probation in a county like ours.
Thank you. Are there any questions regarding this item? Any members of the public have any questions? Let's bring it back to the board for action.
Move to approve.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Roll call vote, please.
Supervisor McCauley?
Yes.
Supervisor Wamhaugh?
Yes.
Supervisor Rogers?
Yes.
Supervisor Gonzalez?
Yes.
Chairman Poitras?
Yes.
Vote passes 5-0.
Very good. Thank you. And now I believe this would be item 8B. This is the letter that was approved to be added onto the agenda.
Thank you again, Mr. Chairman. So this is a letter of support for a grant application for Eastern Madera County Fire Prevention Assistance. We have supported our friends at the Fire Safe and Firewise communities previously on other grant opportunities. This particular one came to our attention Friday after the agenda was posted. And if we wish to support this, they need a response today because the grant application is due tomorrow on the 10th of January. It's pretty self-explanatory as far as what's in the letter.
Very good. Thank you. Any questions of Mr. Varney? Any members of the public have any questions? Hearing none, we'll bring it back to the board for action.
Move to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Roll call vote, please.
Supervisor McCauley?
Yes.
Supervisor Rogers?
Yes.
Supervisor Wamhaugh?
Yes.
Supervisor Gonzalez?
Yes.
Chairman Poitras?
Yes.
Vote passes 5-0.
Very good. Thank you. Move on to supervisor and staff reports. I'm going to start to my right with Supervisor Wamhoff.
I have nothing to report. Thank you.
Very good.
Mr. Chair, just want to invite the public out to the 22nd Annual March for Jesus. It's an event that's put on by a lot of the local pastors. They start over at 700 Yosemite, which is the old social services building, and we walk over to Courthouse Park and pray for our city, our officials, our residents. So the public is invited to participate. That's this Saturday, 10:30 a.m. at 700 Yosemite.
Excellent. Thanks for reporting that. Supervisor McCauley.
Thank you, Chair. Nothing to report, but I do want to thank the board for a great year, 2023. I'm looking forward to another one in 2024. I also want to thank my Chief of Staff, Melissa De Silva, for all the work she's done over the last year. And then the great residents of District 5, of course, thank you all of them for their support and their involvement in the county government.
Very good. Thank you. And Supervisor Rogers.
I have nothing to report, and I want to thank everybody for their making this year so easy for me and cooperation, their help. You also, especially for stepping in when I couldn't be there, and I appreciate that. And Jay, County Council, really appreciate you all. And I want to especially mention the clerk too. She's been very helpful in getting things moving along. Well, thank you.
Very good. Mr. CAO.
Just a reminder that the legislature is back in session, and at a local level, we have distributed this year's budget instructions to the department heads, and we'll be getting that process shortly.
Super. County Council.
Chair, members of the board, congratulations on the new body and the new year. I'm excited, look forward to continuing to work with you and everyone you put in place to work with us. So thanks everyone for your patience with our office. And just a heads up coming forward, we're going to have our Form 700s and all of the conflict of interest matters coming up. I was also encouraged and did attend an FPPC training recently on some of these new laws that are coming along related to campaign donations. So I'm planning to do a brief presentation in February, if that's your pleasure. And all of those matters are coming up here in the new year because the clerk of the board's office is reminding me of that. So thank you. No further reports.
Very good. Thank you. Clerk of the board, anything to
Nothing
report?
to report, but thank you. Thank
Mr.
you,
Krieber.
everybody.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Matt Treber. Just one brief item. I wanted to inform the board and the public as well that Public Works, based on our current forecasts, specifically for tomorrow, we do anticipate that we will be operating night crews and plowing throughout this storm that's coming up. So I wanted to let the board know that we'll have our crews out there to combat that. It's going to get pretty low. We also have some new products that we're testing up in Eastern Madera County to combat the ice on our roadways. And so that seems to be working better than our sand that we typically have had out there. So excited about that, and we'll keep monitoring those as well. So thank you.
Good to know. Very important. Thank you. And with that, we shall adjourn the meeting. Have a great rest of the day.